would it change things between us if I told you I was bi? I'm asking because that's what
I was
someone
gonna say,
asked.
are you telling me that in public now?
How do I tell her I'm in a relationship?
I never did when I was growing up. I stuck around, I think, more than anything. I think the only reason I dated him is because I needed an excuse to get out of the house.
Would it be okay to date someone outside of religion?
Then you know what? Get a hobby.
How do you know if it's the right guy? If my high school self knew that I was gonna be filming a video with my mom, I honestly wouldn't believe it because Hi, it's Jazzy Ann, and I asked you guys to send me questions that you're too afraid to ask your mom. A lot of those questions I got, I can't answer. Disclaimer, we are not licensed therapists, but my mom is a certified mom.
I guess I've been a mom now for 27 years. That is a long time to be
Yup.
a mom.
Answering questions you're too afraid to ask your mom. That's all I have. Mama, do you think that your life would have been better if you didn't have kids?
I mean, to tell you the truth, actually, I did not want to have kids
Yeah.
at the very beginning because honestly, I growing up, I didn't really have a really good influence. I didn't have a good role model. And I believe because of that, I didn't think I was going to be a good mother, or I would not know how to do it. But God had a different plan, and so I would never give up my 3 kids. My kids gives you so much life, so much more energy. It gives a different perspective in life. I would have never been able to do all the things you guys were done. Like, for example, I volunteered a lot you guys were into swimming. I learned a lot about organization, negotiation.
Yeah.
To me, that was more valuable, I think, because it was more like a hands-on experience instead of learning it from a book kind of thing. I met a lot of people. I learned to learn how to communicate better. I learned to have more fun because I didn't know. I didn't think I knew how to be fun or how to have fun, because I really didn't have that when I was growing up. It was always so serious, or having fun was not something that was embraced or encouraged, because
It was just
having-
grades all the time, right?
Yes, and having fun means you're not studying enough, or you're a party person kind of thing. And
That makes sense. 'Cause I remember you would always tell me I'm having too much fun. So, which is fair. I was definitely having a lot of fun.
yeah, I mean, in the long run, it was the most amazing experience I have of having children, because I mean, at the beginning it was hard because I was always afraid I was not going to be a great mom, but you learn.
Whenever you first married Papa, did you go into the marriage already thinking I don't want to have kids? And did he know that?
I think at the very beginning he knew already. I mean, that's why I decided, and took about 5 years in our marriage before, okay, it's time to have kids. I really needed to feel that I am ready, because I wanted to, when the child comes, I want it to be loved and be accepted. I don't think my family really understood that, because I was the oldest in the family. And so therefore, when you're the oldest and when you get married right away, they expect you to have kids immediately. First 2 years was like they were okay with it, but then going on to 5 years, it's like, what's wrong with you? And they don't really, maybe I never really communicated that with them, probably because I was afraid to hurt their feelings.
Yeah,
So.
and I'm glad that you waited, because it was important that it was a decision for you to make, that you were ready, instead of feeling pressured by your family.
Yes.
What made you change your mind to have children?
I'm not really sure where that came from. I think probably 5 years, God softens your heart and makes you look at different perspective. More than anything, I think my heart was just softened than anything else.
Yeah, I think a lot of things can change over time when you
Yes.
don't, in ways that you don't expect.
Yes.
How have I hurt your feelings before? Have I ever done anything to really hurt your feelings?
I mean, I know how much you love to socialize and love to hang out with friends, but I think sometimes it was more hurtful because you had preferred to be with your friends than with your families at times at different events. It was never cool for you to hang out with your parents when you were in middle school and high school. But now you're fine now. I think leaving to go to college, I think that was a good part for you and for all of us, or for myself and for your papa. I think you appreciated it more because the fact that we were always there.
Yes.
And so therefore you like now to hang out with us, which is good.
Yes, I do.
When I went to go see Joshua's swim meet, he always loved me being there. You know, he would leave his friends when he was, and he would come to me, and we would talk a lot about whatever, you know, about what's going on with swim, what's going on with school and everything.
Aw.
And parents would hear him talk all the
Aw.
time.
Josh
And
was a good son.
a lot of the parents goes, "Wow, you have an amazing son. He doesn't mind hanging out with you." I was like, "Oh no, Joshua does not get embarrassed. He loves to hug his mom,
Oh.
and he does that a lot in public." And so I always felt that I wished that you were like that as well too. But it almost felt like your friends were so much more important than hanging out with your mom. That's it.
I don't know. There's something about being a middle school and high school girl that just like there's just this like push away from your mom. Like I remember being a teenager and just I don't know, just like feeling like so annoyed with my mom all the time. But I think that's just a part of being a teenager and growing up. I also think, yeah, we definitely did not have the greatest relationship in high school. I definitely felt a lot of pressure to be perfect. And I mean, we've talked about this, it is in the past. And I think I just felt more, I definitely felt more free with my friends to totally be myself. That was just a natural reason why I leaned on my friends more. But I am very glad that I have grown past that. And I find value in spending time with my family now.
Yes. If I haven't said it enough already, I said I apologize and I'm sorry. Please forgive me if I brought it upon you to feel that you didn't, or
Yeah.
you didn't feel comfortable that we were not open enough for you. Because if we gave you that impression, I'm sorry. Because the last thing I wanted to have that impression is because I grew up that way. I was not comfortable at talking to anybody because I always get either chastised or saying grow up kind of thing.
Yeah, a lot of our misunderstandings with each other literally boiled down to the fact that I also was not communicating with you because I didn't know how to, and I didn't feel like I had the space to do that. But now that I'm older, I also understand that you went through the same thing where you felt like you didn't have space to communicate. You didn't know how to. And so that obviously resulted in a lot of misunderstandings and arguments between us. I guess we started learning how to communicate. I don't know.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah. I think the distance from each other, I think that brought more different perspective in each other, and my
Yes.
probably learning that we do love each other. We just needed to learn to communicate better, and you grow up. You grow
do
up.
grow
I grew
up.
up in a relationship, and then yes, even moms do grow up, and then we still continue to learn from each other. Because you have to be open-minded in learning. I feel like you need to learn all the time and learning about your children because there's always a lot of things surprising that you still are not aware of your kids.
I will say that the distance has helped a lot to help me appreciate you, and I'm very grateful for growing up because it's helped me to like see you as an actual person, not just my mom, you know? And so understanding where you come from and what your life was like growing up has helped me just understand you more, and that has made me love you so much more.
Oh,
Yeah. So
love you too, baby.
yeah, you will surprise yourself how much you still grow up, I guess.
Yes.
And it's interesting that you are literally a grown woman and you were like, I'm still growing.
Yes.
That's so beautiful.
Yes. Well, you have to grow. Otherwise, you'll remain stagnant and be depressed,
Yeah.
and not be kind to people. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If you're set in your ways all the time, you're just going to be one of those grumpy old women.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that way.
And you're
So,
not. You're
yeah.
so fun and you're doing your Zumba and dancing all the time.
Yes, yes.
How do you know if it's the right guy?
Growing up as a Filipino with my family, I was not allowed to date actually until I graduated from college.
Oh, what?
Yes.
From college?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so
That's a long time.
So what do you do? Because you're forbidden. The first thing you do is you sneak around, right? Because what else would you do? So I dated this guy. Oh, I don't know. I think the only reason I dated him is because I needed an excuse to get out of the house.
That's so valid.
I was with him for maybe went out for him for 3 years, but I know.
Whoa, you guys dated for 3 years?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and I felt really bad about that, but I basically kind of used him because I needed a way to get out of the house. And so,
Oh, wow. You were
um,
young. It's
yeah,
okay.
well, no, that wasn't really acceptable. I always knew from the very beginning that he wasn't the right guy for me because he wasn't as smart as I thought. I'm very particular about who I wanted to date.
Yeah.
He wasn't very smart.
He didn't know how to change a tire. I
Yes.
remember that.
Yes. When I dated your papa, I mean, at the very beginning, I wasn't quite sure about him because, I mean, he was such a nerd
Aww.
and he didn't dress really well.
Aww. Those haven't changed. Whenever I was dating in high school and in college, the right guy to me was all about just the way I felt around him and the way he made me feel. Now that I'm getting older and because we've talked about it, I understand like I need to have a list. Also on your list for having the right guy, I think it's important to have non-negotiables.
Yes.
Like things that are okay. I don't care how much I like you because that is not enough. Something I am trying to learn as a young woman is it doesn't matter how much you like a guy or how much he likes you.
If it doesn't check off and there's a lot of red flags, there is no need for you to continue that relationship. Because
Yes,
why?
yes.
Why? And people say, well, they will change. No, they won't.
Yeah.
Even when you get married, if you know that that person is how they're like, marriage will not change them. So therefore,
yeah.
go find somebody else.
If anything, marriage will add more pressure to
Yes,
it.
yes.
Because you would have expected this person to change and then they didn't. And now there's all this resentment built instead of you should have just let that person just be themselves and you should have just found a better match for yourself. The non-negotiables are non-negotiables. And I
Yeah.
need to honor that.
Because infatuation only lasts for so long.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
real life starts.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and you don't go through life with infatuation. You go through life with life stuff.
Like, what kind of qualities am I looking for in a person that would be able to be there for me through the hard things?
Yes.
That's how you find the right guy. And take your time, I think. How do I tell her I'm in a relationship?
I never did when I was growing up. I snuck around, I think, more than anything. And the only time I introduced,
And you wonder why I was rebellious.
maybe when I was already in college with your papa, I felt more comfortable telling them that I'm in a relationship because he was studying to be an engineer.
Oh.
Yes, my family's a little bit on the status thing.
So you heard it here first. How do I tell them I'm in a relationship? You don't have to. I hope, though, that if it's the type of relationship where you guys are engaged, I hope that...
Well, hopefully before you're engaged.
Yeah. If you're in high school, college, and there's a silly rule where you're not allowed to date, like, I encourage you to date.
Yeah.
Okay, just...
Well, I mean...
as long as you're being safe and...
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was important for you guys to date in high school because I wanted to make sure you guys knew how to handle relationships before you went away to college.
Yeah.
Because then we wouldn't be there to help you.
I'm very glad I got to date in high school because my dating experiences in high school were better than they were in college. For some reason. Anyways, your marriage is the reason I don't want to get married. They won't trust any man ever. Whatever example you grew up with, you are not doomed to
Yes.
that example as well.
Yes, and that's why I always say you need to be extremely picky.
But also be aware that, there's probably going to be some inner work and healing you'll need to do within yourself in order to find that person that's right for you. After we have a fight, why do you still go rambling about the fight over and over again? And I put this question in because I feel like we did that to each other very much in high school.
Yes, and I think it's probably because it's both of us wanted to be right, and nobody.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
we didn't want to back down and say
Yeah.
sorry that I was wrong. I think both of us never really like to say I'm sorry, and both of us never like to back down on a fight because
Yeah.
I'm right because I'm the mother.
And
Kind of thing.
I'm right because I'm right.
Honestly, that's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And you grow out of that.
Someone else said, I wish you could see how similar our bad sides are instead of calling me out on them. And yeah, we both struggle with like needing to be right.
Yes. When I raise my voice, you raise your voice.
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
thing. So it's
yeah.
one of those things that we never seem to have a good conversation because it's always escalation.
But I also wanted to say, I realized, why do you still go rambling about the fight over and over again? I've started to see me going in circles with like some of my friendships, and I've realized I do that whenever I don't feel listened to or heard. So I think that, I mean, that probably was definitely happening with us. We
Yes.
definitely were not listening to each other.
Yes, yes, because we're always thinking I'm right, so therefore
Yeah.
I should be you should listen to me, even in your job, kind of thing. Because you know, like you think that people are listening to you and they're not, and so therefore it becomes that again snowball effect of I am right because no one's listening to me. That's why you're not doing it right, kind of thing. You know, so
True, that's very true. I mean, in the heat of the moment, it is so challenging to be
Yes.
like,
yes,
let's take a step back,
Yes.
or let's like breathe so we can actually talk about this.
Yes.
It's really hard to let go of that ego, and
yes,
you know?
yes, it's really actually pride, and I think sometimes
Yeah.
pride is so damaging to people. Do 10 deep breaths and see how your perspective is differently after that. So you're not always in this fight, flight all the time. So your parasympathetic nervous system kind of like kicks in, so you kind of more relax. You know?
She was a nurse.
So therefore, you're kind of more relaxed. You're not so angry, and the conversation turns so much better when you approach
Yeah.
something without anger.
Yeah, I mean, like, no conversation is going to be perfect. The
And-
action you take makes a difference.
And you can always agree to disagree. I
True,
mean, there is
true.
nothing wrong with that as long as you're good with the conversation and how it ends, and you agree to disagree.
And you understand each other.
Yeah, and then at the end of the conversation, if you're still agreeing not to disagree, then hug one another and be done with it. That's it.
Sometimes that's all we would have to do, is we wouldn't find a resolution and we would just hug and
Yeah.
then move on.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there anything you should do to prepare for your first time having sex? Like literally to prepare for the physical deed. Is there like any stretches or like products or like conversations that should be had?
There's no stretch. there's
I'm-
no stretches.
I'm curious,
There's
like-
no stretches you need to do unless you're doing something really weird and acrobatic, like hanging from the ceiling or something. But
I mean, you never know.
well, okay, because I mean, when you're intimate, there's always going to be all kinds of lubrication that comes naturally from you just because you're aroused.
Okay.
And there's conversations, of course, because you talk to each other about what you like about each other, what kind of what you love about their bodies, what you love about how they caress you, kind of thing. All right. So it happens naturally. There is no specific things because you don't want to be so rigid, because then when it becomes rigid, it's not. It's almost like not romantic anymore. It's almost like
Yeah, that
it's
makes
a
sense.
job that you want to do and you get it over with. That's not really how it's done.
I really like that a lot. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated.
No.
And your attraction for each other will take the lead.
Yes.
I got a lot of questions of people asking, why doesn't she leave my dad? If she's unhappy, if she doesn't like him, why doesn't she just leave him? What is your opinion on that?
That's really hard to say because that's maybe your perspective, maybe from the outside. But you also have to remember your mom has values. Some people take their vows extremely seriously regarding about marriage. Like there's a covenant versus a contract, and a covenant is more like a moral thing that you have promised God, your parents, and all the witnesses in the church. I'm sure some people majority of the people get married in church. And you know what? And maybe they need counseling. They need to go to a counseling. And how do you know your mom is unhappy? Did she verbalize that with you? Maybe she's unhappy about one specific thing, you know, regarding about maybe she's unhappy because they don't have enough money. Or basically, majority of the fight and majority of the unhappiness in a marriage is financial situation. And so therefore, if that is such a situation, then maybe they should go to counseling, or they can communicate with one another, or
Yeah.
better yet, maybe the person, like the child, or can approach her and ask what's going on, and then maybe you guys could
Whoa.
have a I don't know, a family conference. Like you can say, hey, by the way, this is what I have seen and I have observed. This is from my own perspective. So therefore, tell me what's going on. I mean, there is nothing wrong with you doing that to your parents. After all, those are your parents.
I think from a kid's perspective, it can feel like, oh, my mom obviously doesn't like my dad. Why doesn't she just leave him? That's the easiest solution. If there's a problem and the problem is unhappiness, the solution is not always to leave.
Yes,
and to avoid.
Yes, yes. Because otherwise, if you always do that, if you're always unhappy about something and then you leave there, you're always going to do that for the rest of your life. Even if your job, if you feel unhappy in your job, you're going to leave. So there is really no solution or resolution to that.
Yeah.
And maybe your mom wants to have a good example about the fact that so what if she's unhappy about something, it doesn't mean that she immediately has to leave. That can be resolved as long as there is communication on both sides of the parents, and as long as there's no abuse, there's always all kinds of resolutions for that.
Yeah, and I think a great way to strengthen a relationship is to go through those problems and then to communicate and resolve those issues.
Yes.
And maybe it won't be perfect immediately. I think in general that brings two people closer together.
Yes, yes, and I think that it would bring the family closer together. I think sometimes when you guys were growing, I don't think we really had a really open communication as much as I would have loved to. Probably because I really didn't know how to do that, just because I didn't have an example.
I was about to say, it's not your job to save your parents' relationship. It's not your job to save your family. Maybe your mom is unhappy and she doesn't even know how to express that.
Right.
I do agree with you. You could go to her. I don't know. I'm saying this, but like also realizing that that takes a lot of guts.
It does.
Even if your mom is in a situation where she should leave her partner, that is still a very challenging thing to do, especially if you've created a life with this person, or you rely on someone financially.
Yes.
Like it can be very scary to start all over again. And with that in mind, I hope that that encourages you to make sure that you are taking the time and doing the inner work and the things that you need to do to be confident in who you pick your partner to be.
Yes. I always say you need to be extremely picky. And people say, you're so picky. Yes, because that's your life partner. For Jordan, my oldest one, he tells me that he wanted to get married to Megan. So my first question from him is like, do you see yourself with her for the rest of your life? And he would, without hesitation, he said, yes. If you can express that without any hesitation or doubt that's going to be your life partner, then that's great. I mean, I believe that marriage is for life until death do you part kind of thing, so to speak.
This person is wondering, can I please go to Ellie and Mason house? So can they please go to Ellie and Mason house? When was the first time that you got really drunk?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I never drink. Or I never drank.
Loser. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
I do remember when I was in college studying for nursing, and we had like a party with all the engineers, and I was like really, really hyper. I love to dance, and I was like really jumping up and down, and people go, wow, you have way too much to drink, they say to me.
Oh.
And I said, huh? I said, no. The opposite effect on me. It makes me really tired and depressed and sad, and makes me want to go to sleep kind of thing.
So you were completely sober, getting down on the dance floor.
I was. So I was your designated driver. Even your papa calls me a cheap date because I never ordered alcohol when we go out for dinner.
You truthfully do not need to have alcohol to have fun and to be free. I do really respect just having fun and being yourself and dancing and feeling free in your body without alcohol.
Yes.
A lot of people can't do that.
My body was more in tune to the fact that I don't need alcohol.
I have had my fair share of getting drunk. My mom is definitely aware of, you are definitely aware of this. I've had lots of fun being drunk. I've also made many mistakes being drunk. Ooh. you might be mad at me, but there was something that did shift my perspective with drinking was I didn't like if the night I would get so anxious the next day if the night ended and I didn't remember things. Like that freaked me out. That can kind of be a common thing. I'm not saying I never drink anymore, and I'm not saying I'm all high mighty and better than you because I am growing out of alcohol. I mean, to each their own. I have plans with my friends literally later this week, and like I'm talking about this and thinking to my head like, okay, well, I'm probably gonna end up doing that anyways.
Well,
but
I mean, I don't have anything with people drinking alcohol. I think you just do it in moderation. A lot of people drink. I mean, we live in Texas. People here drink all the time.
true, margaritas go crazy in Texas.
Yes. I mean, believe it or not, I actually go out with my friends, or even I go to a lot of Filipino parties, and a lot of them do drink, but I never do.
Yeah. And if you are like, I don't like it at all, then that is so valid and you don't have to have alcohol. With that being said, how do you stay happily sober in situations where those around you aren't?
If you're a person who has a problem with alcohol and you hang out with people who drink, I would suggest you need to find new friends.
Oh, like self-discipline?
Yes. If you said, "Oh, I'm going to be strong," not everybody's strong. You think you are until you hang out with people who are drinking. I mean, I do. I hang out with a lot of friends who are drinkers, and I don't. And I'm fine with it because I know what I'm capable of, and I know that alcohol affects me actually. So I know that I don't need to drink alcohol to have fun with my friends.
Did they ever poke fun at you?
No. Well, at the very beginning, a long time ago, maybe when I was kind of new in Texas, when I went to some people's parties and they offered me a drink, and I said no. And one of the moms got really upset with me because I refused her wine. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I said, I just don't want to. And goes, why? Is it because of your religion? And I was like, no.
Oh!
I said, no, I just don't like the taste of alcohol. You shouldn't really be judging about the fact that why they don't drink, because it affects some people. Some people affects their body. Somebody who's recovering from being alcoholic.
Oh, yes,
so
yes,
you
true.
need to be also be mindful of that kind of stuff as well, because if you know that you have a friend that is recovering from being alcoholic or alcoholism, I think you as a good friend should not
Be offering alcohol
or you drinking alcohol in front of that person.
Yeah.
Because I think that to me that's disrespectful.
I agree
if
with
you're
you.
a friend, then you need to honor that, because you're trying to encourage that person to continue that journey of healing from alcoholism.
If your friends are making fun of you or don't support you in not wanting to drink alcohol, then there are people out there that will be your friend without needing that from you.
You need new sets of friends.
Yeah, also because like if you don't want to drink alcohol, it's really not that deep. And if someone's making a big deal out of it, that is just odd to me. For example, I was making a new friend in college and I asked her to hang out, and she was like, yes, I'm so down to hang, but just a heads up, like I don't want to drink and I don't want to smoke. And if that is your vibe, then like I'm not interested. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for being so straight up. I know exactly what to expect. Let's go to the park.
I think that's
paint.
amazing.
What are the most beautiful and most painful things about growing older?
Well, the most beautiful thing about growing older is that I hope that I'm a little bit more wiser. And I think also to see accomplishments of my kids,
Oh.
And the saddest thing about it is that they grew up too quickly. I mean, I think there was one time when I was looking at pictures and I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that. And it's like, wow, I wish we can like redo that again kind of thing, And then also what's the most beautiful thing is because now Jordan is married, I'm wanting to have him. Okay, Jordan, this is for you. I think you need to have children soon.
Oh my gosh, he knows. He knows that you're waiting.
I just want to have what it feels like to be a grandma. I remembered you specifically that you were crying all the time because why do I not have any grandparents really active? Like going to my swim meet or going to see my play or just doing that. And I said, I'm sorry, but your grandparents don't live in the US. They live in Canada, so it's a little bit more difficult for them to travel. I want to be there for my kids' kids.
I want you to be there for my kids as well.
Yes.
Yes.
There was this reel that I saw.
Instagram reel?
Yes. Basically, it was meeting grandma. And oh my gosh, these kids were squealing, like so excited. They were doing a little dance. They were running to grandma. And like they were so excited. I want to experience that. I want to experience how that feels like, to be so excited because grandma's coming, kind of thing. I feel like when I said I feel like I'm so old, but I'm not.
I love that perspective because really, Mama, you are not that old at all. There kind of is this mindset, especially for people my age, like once you turn 30, okay, like there's nothing interesting about life, which is so not true at all. There's still so much life to live and
Yes.
things to look forward to and
Yes.
different milestones.
Yes. Oh my gosh, 30 years old. That's young.
Yeah.
Young. I didn't have Jordan, the oldest one, until I was 30 years old. So come on.
It's crazy to see how quickly time passes. And I feel like the older I get, the faster it goes.
Yes. It does. Time flies.
I really wish that when I was younger, my brain was more developed so that I could have been more present whenever we were all still living together. It makes me emotional just thinking about getting to all be together, the five of us. It was just so awesome, and it's really hard to think about how we're never really gonna get that again.
Yeah. Well,
in the same way.
Yes, you're right. But it's in a different way now because now you're now all adults, so you don't have to have the parents there all the time, right?
I think that things are more beautiful whenever they're temporary. It makes you appreciate it more.
Yes.
I love you, Jordan and Joshua. I miss you all the time. This guy's wondering, how do I get a girlfriend? I thought that'd be fun to answer together. You have to court her. That's what I think.
Yes, yes. Okay, this is what they do in the Philippines when they like somebody. They literally would serenade. They would go to the person's house and serenade them.
I want that.
They would bring a guitar and
Oh my gosh.
and bring a couple of people with them, and they would sing a love song to this person.
Oh wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Guys, chivalry is not dead.
But you know what? Your papa did that. Because I told him about that kind of stuff. So what he did was he recorded himself singing a love song. And he put a little note on it. And I think he left it in my locker.
I didn't know that.
Yes, in my nursing
That's
class.
so
in the locker room. And he goes, play this.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I played it and I'm like, oh my gosh. That's like, it goes, okay, this is the only time I'm going to be singing. But it was so nice. Well, with Joshua, I thought it was so cute. Instead of texting each other,
they would write letters to each other.
Yes,
That
and they
was
would
so
mail it. And to me, that's like,
so
oh my
sweet.
gosh, how romantic. Go and, I don't know, make something. Buy flowers or go pick out some wild flowers somewhere.
yeah.
Or make something.
The issue.
Make cookies. Something.
How do you get a girlfriend? It's honestly, it's more simple than you think. I think a lot of guys in my generation are nervous about looking too down bad. They call it a simp. If you're just like way too down bad for this girl. I think if you are really, really into a girl, you need to show her that you're serious about her. That is the only way that you will actually stand out to her. Like, girls love that kind of stuff. Just like be cute and like show her that you think she's special and she's one of a kind. If she doesn't reciprocate, then at least you gave it your best shot and you know.
Right.
Also, I know that it's also a common thing where guys feel like they have to be this perfect person. They meet this awesome girl and they're like, oh, I can't be with her because I'm not where I want to be in my own life yet. You don't have to be the perfect guy because you're never going to be the perfect guy.
Yes.
I want to see that imperfect side of the man that I'm with, and I want to be there to encourage him.
Yes.
Not to like hold his hand and like be his mom, but
Right.
encourage him to become the man that I know that he can be.
Yes.
You also don't have to be like the most handsome guy in the whole freaking world. Like that only lasts so long.
Yeah.
And honestly, women just want to feel heard, understood, seen, and safe.
Well, also appreciated and cared. I think that they want somebody to be admired. You know,
Yeah.
they want to be admired all the time because.
Oh yeah, I want you to tell me I'm beautiful all the time.
And you can write that in a poem, like how lovely she is, or her mannerisms, or her behavior, or how she treats people, kind of thing. You know, it means that you have not just, you're more than just the outside part, that you actually look the inside part as well too. It's not this, it's more.
Yes, yes, that is so true. That is exactly what I mean. Like, yes, tell your girl that she's beautiful, but really listen to her. Like, she's more than just the way that she looks. Women deal with this all the time where we are reduced to the way that we look. Give her a safe space to be herself so she can melt in your arms. There you go. This is a great question because I am wondering this myself and I still struggle with this. How do I stop aligning my self-worth with romantic attention? Where I struggle with this, and I know a lot of people struggle, is it's really easy to feel unworthy if no one is giving me romantic validation. If no one is hitting up my line, then there's this feeling of like, wow, like nothing's interesting about my life, like which I realize is a problem.
But do you need validation from somebody else to feel that way? Like, do you need a validation from a guy saying you're so worth it? Why? Why would you need a validation? Yes, I know what it's like to feel that way, but then you know what? Get a hobby. Go volunteer.
No, you're so right.
Go
You're so
go
right.
exercise. Go run. Because if you continue to get validation from a guy, that you'll always be needing that all the time, right? You can tell yourself you are worthy. You can say in the morning, I am valuable. I am worthy.
Look at yourself in the mirror.
Yes.
Yes. I believe
as
that.
you say, God did not make junk, so therefore I am worthy. I am valuable. I'm more than capable. Sometimes when you get validation all the time, it almost feels like you don't work on yourself anymore because, oh, I'm so good already. Kind of thing. Kind of thing. There's no more room for you to grow because you think, oh gosh, this person thinks so and so, such and such and such. There's so many things you can do out there that needs your attention. If you don't feel valuable, go help out, go volunteer. Go help out young kids. You help them read, you basically help them how to dress, whatever it is. That's, to me, that's how you get your self-worth, really. It's basically by go helping out other people. Because then you're not, it's not always all about you, it's helping other people, and when you do that, then you reflect on yourself.
Honestly, as a woman, like, I think that there is a natural desire for validation, especially from men. I think it's honestly a biological thing. But I will say, like, okay, this guy over here, he's validating me. He's technically just Joe Schmo. Why does he decide anything about my actual value? Focus on other things. Like, what are other things that light you up? Is it volunteering and helping people? Is it writing a story that you're really passionate about? Like, what are things that light you up and make you feel, give you that spark, you know?
Yes. Or exercising or dancing.
Yeah.
You know, so yes.
There are all different things that can give you a little spark. My mom and I have a close relationship, but I'm too afraid to tell her that I'm queer.
I don't think you should be afraid. If you know that you have a close relationship with your mom, a mom is a mom. A mom will love you either way. A mom loves, no matter what, she will go to the moon for you because she's a mom.
I got a lot of people saying that they are gay, but they are afraid to tell their parents because what if they don't accept them?
Well, I don't know what to say about that other than the fact that I think a parent, a mom especially, would love you like anyways. If you feel that you have a close relationship and hiding that part of you, I think to me, I would feel offended because as a mom, I thought you and I had a close relationship. She may be upset about it, or she may, I don't know.
She might not know how to respond immediately.
Yeah, and you have to give her that, I guess, grace to basically come to terms with it. But eventually, she's a mom. She'll love you anyways, no matter what.
Would it change things between us if I told you I was bi? I'm asking because that's what someone asked.
Are you telling me that in public now?
That's a question that someone sent.
Would it change a relationship? Why would it change a relationship? I mean, it's not something I would want for a kid, but you are my child. You are my son. You are my daughter. I would love you anyways.
Well, you said that's something you would not want. Oh, I guess because you would want your
Well,
daughter to end up with a man or your man
well,
end up.
no, because then the reason why I'm saying that is because then people would, when they find out, they then you would have more difficulties because then there's the stigma about, that there's all these other the people in society out there. You'll feel hurt because there's people will call you names or you'll be ostracized or you'll lose friends. I think that's what I mean by I don't want that for you. Instead
Yeah.
of loving the person, they'll only see what your status is instead of you as a person.
I see, I see. I feel like a lot of kids that are queer, it would make the biggest difference if their family could accept them. Because no matter who you are, you're going to have people ridicule you and like all these other things. And
Yes.
so if your home base can accept you, I think that makes the biggest difference.
Yes.
I mean, every person's relationship is different. I don't know how your parents will respond if you do tell them, but regardless of how they respond, I hope that you feel safe to fully be yourself and to express yourself. Be yourself. No one can take that away from you, and no one, not even your family, can tell you the right way to live. What is something you regret not doing in your life so far? And what in your life would you like a do-over?
When you come from a very Asian family, because I grew up in an Asian family, being Filipino, how did Joe Coy calls it, that your mom shits on your dreams? Well, that's
Oh.
exactly, sorry for the language. I really wanted to be either an interior designer. I love creating stuff. But of course, that was nixed. As a designer, you don't really make a lot of money. It's not a guaranteed job. It's not guaranteed you're always gonna be working all the time. And then also, I wanted to be a dentist, and they didn't want to do that either.
I didn't know that.
Yes, because I looked it all up. Dentistry actually makes the most money, and I wanted to make a lot of money because I had so much responsibility in terms of financial responsibility to help my family back in the Philippines.
What is something that you regret not doing so far then? Would you consider yourself an interior designer now?
Well, now actually, it's funny you say that because after COVID, I approached a friend and decided that why don't we basically help people have fun, and it doesn't have to be elaborate, just a simple thing. And I think that's probably why I started that more than anything, because I think I've always had the passion for creating stuff but helping people as well.
Who did you hope to become before you met me or before you had children?
Well, actually, I wanted to make a lot of money and I wanted to be a millionaire.
Really?
well, more than anything.
I want that too.
I remember growing up, and we didn't have a lot of money. Like, money was always such an issue in our family. Even when I was in the Philippines, and even when I immigrated to Canada, it was always about money, and we never had enough money, and we always had to work hard. And to tell you the truth, I always sent money home, and I wished that I didn't have to do that. I mean, I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, your auntie and I did that for a long time.
So you're saying you wish that you were just so you could send money and then be done? Sending money to your family?
Yeah, or financially, I don't have to worry about always not having any money at all. Not necessarily having a lot of money so I can buy all that stuff. No, more than anything is I would just want to have more like financial security is basically what I wanted.
Were you actually happy when you found out you were having me?
Oh, definitely.
Yay!
Because you already had two boys, you had two brothers, and I've always thought, for some reason, I knew I was having a girl. That's why your name was Jasmine, because I thought you were gonna be just like Princess Jasmine with long black hair, big brown eyes, kind of thing, and loves to sing.
Aww. And that's true. I do like to sing. I guess that became true because you thought that. You probably
guess.
manifested it.
I guess.
Hey, Mom, would it be okay to date someone outside of religion?
It really depends. I mean, if your religion is extremely important to you and dating that person neglects that religion, that part of you, that faith, then I suggest I would say no. If that relationship goes deeper, then what happens? But if it's not important to you and it's never going to be important to you and it's not a problem, then I should say, yeah, go ahead.
Your religion also can create a lot of core beliefs. Like I grew up Christian. I wouldn't say like I'm a practicing Christian right now, but I still have my core beliefs. And
Yes.
so personally, I could never be with someone who's an atheist because I believe in something greater than me. I've noticed that I don't connect with people that don't believe in anything in the same way, and we just don't have the same wonder about the world, yada yada yada. I included this question because I had a moment where I had a big crush on a Jewish man, and I had another moment where I had a big crush on a Muslim guy. Those relationships were never serious, so it was never something that I had to actually consider, but you know, I was wondering like, oh, if this does go into anything, would my family be okay with this? I don't know. I've always been like drawn to other cultures and other practices.
Sure.
So,
Let me tell you a story about that. When I was working at a Mount Sinai hospital as a nurse, a lot of the physicians there were Jewish. So there was a friend of mine who was very Catholic, and she was dating this guy, and it almost to the point where I think they were engaged. Because the fact that he had a different religion, she had to break it off because she could not see herself. It's a long story, but she needed to convert to being to Judaism, and she did not feel comfortable because she grew up with those core values.
I see.
And this is what she loved about it. It was a heartbreak kind of thing because it should not have gone that far. But they had to end up that relationship because she wasn't willing. It's your core values. It's what you love. It's what about who it makes you, and it's so important to you. It's part of you. That is so important. Do not neglect that because that is your worth as well too.
Yeah.
That's part of your makeup. Therefore, if somebody tells you to live differently, that's kind of hard.
Yeah, it really just boils down to who you are and what your beliefs are about yourself. Like, I totally encourage having religious tolerance for other religions. I think that is a very important quality, but that doesn't mean that you have to do something that you don't want to do.
Right.
That isn't true to you. This person says, I love you, but I can't stand living here anymore. Which I put that in because I felt the same way whenever, like right before college, I was so ready to leave the house. Also because I'm the youngest kid. I was the last person to leave. Yeah, I was so ready to live not under the rules that I had to live under.
And we were ready for her to leave too.
Oh, okay, great.
I think it was a kind of mutual thing because I think we all needed
Space.
Just because I think probably because it was so much more drama.
What? I'm so dramatic.
Well, I mean, when you have boys, it's less drama than with you. I mean, with you, everything was drama.
I am very dramatic. I'm very good at it. That's why I make good videos.
But it's good for kids to leave anyways. I didn't have that chance. When I was growing up, I didn't leave to go to college. I stayed home the whole entire time. When I graduated from college, I was so ready to leave the house, and I actually physically moved to a different city, so I had an excuse
to not see them.
To that I could have an excuse to live on my own. Because my family be like, if you're gonna be in the same town, why live on your own?
You get to a point where you were like, I am an adult, and no matter how much I love you, I need the freedom to like be my own person, and I literally cannot do that if I live in the same house as you. Sometimes now, even when I visit, if I visit for too long, I feel myself reverting back to my childhood self. And I don't know, I just think that's like inevitable.
And I think the parents feel the same way too. You know, after a while, it's like, okay, it was nice for her to visit, but it's time for her to like leave. Or
what? So you don't miss me so desperately? I'm kidding.
Well, I mean,
I'm
yes,
kidding.
And no. You know, I mean, we have our own life too, kind of thing. So
yeah, that's true, and I think that's a good thing. It's good that you're not like hovering over your children, and your happiness depends on your children.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember children are temporary visitors from a parent's point of view.
What does that mean?
It means that they leave. They have to leave because they get they go to school and they get married. So they do have to leave the nest, so to speak. So I said they're temporary visitors.
Do you think that you're a good mother?
I hope so. I've always wanted to be a good mother. I guess maybe because I never really had that. I work on it all the time. Maybe at the very beginning I wasn't all that great about it, but
You learn.
I learned, and then you have a community of people, of moms, or who would help you, kind of thing. And then you pray. I prayed a lot.
Jordan said this, with all of the trials and tribulations you had been handed, you did a pretty damn good job.
Oh.
Something that I value so much about you is your resilience and your desire to grow. Because if my high school self knew that I was going to be filming a video with my mom, I honestly wouldn't believe it, because we just didn't have that relationship in high school. For a while, it felt like that's just how it was going to be forever.
But things change.
Things change, and they really surprise you how they change.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think probably because we're both open-minded to learning from each other's mistakes and understanding each other and communication. And I think a lot of that has to do with prayer. I mean, we're still learning from each other, and I'm sure there's still all kinds of stuff that you and I, like, you don't like about me and I don't like about you, but we work it out. You just need to learn to forgive one another all the time.
Yeah.
And I am sorry is the best thing you can always say to a child or to a mom. And you don't have to be, if that person doesn't say I'm sorry, but you said I'm sorry, it gives you freedom, because now it's out of your system.
I definitely think that you're a good mother. I'm very grateful and appreciative of the woman that I'm growing into, and I would not be this person if it wasn't for you.
Oh, thank you.
And I really mean that. I think about that
Thank
all
you.
the time.
Thank you.
Hug! Yay! Hug! Okay, that's everything for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my mama for being here on today's episode.
And I hope you guys have been inspired and encouraged to have a better or a greater relationship with your mom.
I hope that you feel encouraged to go call your mom and tell her that you love her. Today is a great day to take care of yourself. And don't forget to brush your teeth. Bye. Answering questions you're too afraid to ask your mom. I'll make a punchline, say some words, and end it with a song. Da 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 da.